Tommy Lee Jones is a Hollywood legend. The man is practically an institution. He's celebrated for his Oscar-winning talent, his serious presence, and an on-screen intensity that can freeze a scene with just a single look. He is, without a doubt, one of the finest actors of his generation. But off-screen, that same intensity has built a very different reputation, one of being one of the most notoriously difficult, intimidating, and downright contentious actors to ever step on a film set. His commitment to the craft is absolute, but his tolerance for, well, other people, that's a whole different story today. We're counting down the 6 actors who reportedly couldn't stand working with him, leading to some of Hollywood's most infamous feuds. And these aren't just little disagreements. These are stories of open hostility, shocking insults, and backstage tension that made filming an absolute nightmare. From a stunning insult dropped in the middle of a packed restaurant to a co-star who was allegedly branded a bully. These stories are almost too wild to be true. And you will not want to miss the #1 actor on our list, who was the target of Tommy Lee Jones's most legendary, personal, and brutal on-set blow-up. Let's get into the clashes that defined a legend's thorny legacy. Kicking things off at number 6 is a unique case. This one isn't about huge fights or public insults. Instead, it's about a cold, intimidating wall of silence that said more than words ever could. The actor is Josh Brolin, and the film was 2012's Men in Black 3 *. The movie's whole premise handed Brolin a huge challenge. He wasn't just a co-star, he was playing a younger version of Jones's iconic character. Agent K, that's one of the biggest honors and pressures an actor can face, playing a beloved character created by a living legend. Right in front of that legend, Brolin did his homework, studying Jones's speech, his mannerisms, his stoic stare, and that signature deadpan delivery. He wanted to capture the very essence of Agent K. You'd think the senior actor being honored with this elaborate imitation would be flattered or maybe even a little helpful. You would be wrong. According to Brolin himself, the experience was anything but collaborative. He has openly said that Tommy Lee Jones was incredibly intimidating on set. Jones allegedly gave him zero guidance, no encouragement, and definitely no friendly chats. Instead, Brolin was met with a gruff, unapproachable attitude that left him feeling totally isolated. Just imagine it. Brolin is on set, pouring everything he has into channeling a young Tommy Lee Jones. He finishes a take, looks over to the veteran for a nod, a thumbs up, anything, right? And he gets nothing, just a cold, hard stare. This wasn't a feud with shouting matches. But in the world of filmmaking, that kind of professional chill is its own kind of conflict. It creates a tense, uncomfortable vibe. For Brolin, who is trying to pay tribute to the man, the experience must have been deeply unsettling. He was basically performing for a statue that seemed to hate its own reflection. While some might say Jones was just staying in character, as the stern Agent K, Brolin's account makes it sound like it went beyond method acting. It was a personal coldness that set a clear precedent. If you work with Tommy Lee Jones, you work on his terms, and his terms rarely include friendship. At number 5, we have one of the most successful on-screen duos of the 90s. A pair whose chemistry launched a billion-dollar franchise. But behind the scenes, the relationship between Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith on the set of Men in Black was reportedly way more complicated than their buddy cop act let on. When they started filming the first Men in Black in 1996, Jones and Smith were polar opposites. Jones was the established, Oscar-winning, serious actor. The old guard, he treated acting like a high art. Then you had Will Smith. He was the charismatic, high-energy superstar, fresh off The Fresh Prince and Independence Day. He was fun. He loved to improvise, and he connected with everyone. When you put those two together, you get either magic or a meltdown. On screen, they got magic. Off screen, it was a different story. Reports from the set called their relationship strictly professional, which is usually Hollywood code for they couldn't stand each other. Jones's famously serious attitude just didn't mix with Smith's outgoing energy. While Smith was known for keeping the mood light and cracking jokes, Jones was distant, aloof. And all business sources have suggested Jones wasn't exactly welcoming to his younger co-star. There was a clear clash of styles. Jones liked to stick to the script. Smith, a gifted improviser, loved to play with the lines and find comedy in the moment. To a purist like Jones, that could easily seem unprofessional. The dynamic was less of a loud feud and more of a quiet, constant friction. No single blow-up, just a low-level tension built on two totally different ways of working. Imagine being on that set. Will Smith has the whole crew laughing, and Tommy Lee Jones is sitting in a corner, stone-faced, reading a newspaper behind an invisible force field. That's the exact image crew members have hinted at. Their on-screen chemistry is a massive credit to their talent, because it was apparently all an act. Coming in at number 4, if we go back to the set that's become a legend for its toxic environment, 1995's Batman Forever. While Jones's most famous feud from this movie is still to come, rumor has it he didn't save his bad attitude for just one co-star. He also reportedly clashed with Batman himself, Val Kilmer. This one is a fascinating case of two very intense, very similar personalities colliding. By the mid-90s, both Tommy Lee Jones and Val Kilmer had reputations for being difficult. Jones was known for being grumpy and a bit of an intellectual snob, while Kilmer was getting known for his demanding, method-acting intensity. Putting them in a chaotic blockbuster like Batman Forever was like putting two alpha lions in the same cage. Okay? A fight wasn't just possible, it was basically inevitable. While the specifics are less documented than others, insiders have long said that the two had a deeply chilly relationship. The tension was reportedly thick enough to cut with a bat knife. Both were serious actors with very specific ideas for their characters. Jones was crafting a big theatrical Two-Face, while Kilmer was trying to find the psychological depth under the rubber suit. Instead of creating mutual respect, their shared intensity seemed to create a quiet competition. The director, Joel Schumacher, really had his hands full. He later talked about how difficult Kilmer could be, but he also made it clear that Jones was no picnic either. The set was a pressure cooker, and it's widely believed that Jones and Kilmer just did not get along. They were two sides of the same intense coin, and instead of finding common ground, they seemed to just grate on each other. Their interactions were reportedly minimal and curt, much like Jones's relationship with Will Smith, but with an extra layer of competitive friction. This rumored feud helps paint the full picture of the Batman Forever sit. It wasn't just one conflict, it was a whole web of them. For our number 3 spot, we're taking a little detour from actors to prove a point. Tommy Lee Jones's famous intensity wasn't just for his co-stars. He often aimed it at the very people in charge, the writers and directors. And this was never clearer than during the making of Men in Black. The best story comes from the film's writer, Ed Solomon. Solomon described his very first meeting with Tom Lee Jones as inexplicably hostile. Think about that. This wasn't a fight that started after weeks of stressful shooting. This was from day one. According to Solomon, he went to meet Jones to discuss the script, probably hoping for a good chat about Agent K instead. He got hit with a wave of suspicion. Jones reportedly grilled Solomon about the script's comedic tone, the very things that would make the film a huge hit. Then he delivered a line that is just shocking in how blunt it is. Solomon says Jones looked him dead in the eye and said something like, "I've read your script. I just have one question. Do you ever consider that you're just a complete A*** hole?" Double quotes. Yeah, let that sink in. The star of the movie called the writer an *** hole in their first meeting. This was a power play. A way for Jones to make it clear he was not just going to say the words on the page. Solomon was, as you can imagine, completely floored. That massive job of managing this attitude fell to the director, Barry Sonnenfeld. While Sonnenfeld has been pretty diplomatic about it, it's been widely reported he had to constantly navigate Jones's difficult personality. His job was to steer the ship, but his lead actor was actively hostile to the mapmaker. This conflict is maybe even more revealing than his feuds with other actors. It shows his issues weren't just about clashing acting styles, it was a fundamental intellectual combativeness. He believed his ideas were better, and he had no problem expressing that with open hostility. Coming in at number 2 is a feud that was less of a loud battle and more of a silent, bitter Cold War. This one was fought on the set of the 1998 thriller Us Marshals. His on-set rival was the action star Wesley Snipes. And their clash was a masterclass in mutual disrespect. The film was a spin-off of The Fugitive. With Jones back in his Oscar-winning role as U.S. Marshal Samuel Gerard, he was the king of this project. Wesley Snipes, a huge star himself, was the new guy. Right away, their work relationship was defined by that classic oil and water dynamic, as director Stuart Baird put it. He said, "Tommy is methodical and precise. Wesley is more intuitive and physical." That dynamic quickly turned toxic. The set of U.S. Marshals became famously icy. Baird later admitted the atmosphere had all the warmth of the Antarctic. That wasn't an exaggeration. The tension between the two stars affected the entire production. According to the director, Jones and Snipes would rarely speak to each other directly. Instead, they would often send messages through assistant directors or Baird himself. Just picture the absurdity. Two highly paid professional actors unable to even have a direct conversation about the scene they're about to film. It seems there was a clear current of disrespect, flowing mostly from Jones. He was the classically trained thespian, and reports suggest he looked down on Snipes' more physical action hero approach to acting, seeing it as a lesser form of the craft. He didn't just disagree with Snipes' methods, he seemed to disdain them. The cold shoulder and the silent treatment all paint a picture of a man who refused to see his co-star as an equal. The fact that the movie works at all is kind of a miracle, and now we're at the number 1 spot. The most infamous, the most public, and the most brutally personal feud of Tommy Lee Jones's entire career. This is the one that has become Hollywood legend. The actor was Jim Carrey, and the battlefield was, once again, the set of Batman Forever. The year was 1995. Jim Carrey wasn't just a star. He was a comet. After hits like Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber, he was the biggest comedy star on earth. He was cast as the Riddler. And his performance was exactly what you'd expect: manic, wild, and brilliantly over the top. On the other side was Tommy Lee Jones as the grim villain Two-Face. He was a Harvard-educated, serious artist. The conflict was baked in from the start. The immovable object of serious acting versus the unstoppable force of comedy. The tension began almost immediately. Director Joel Schumacher said it plainly. Jones was not kind to Jim Carrey. He explained that Jones, whose character was meant to be the main villain, felt upstaged by Carrey's scene-stealing energy and was reportedly furious that Carrey's zany performance was getting all the attention. But all that on-set tension was just the warm-up for the main event. Jim Carrey has told the story himself many times. One night during filming, Carrey walked into the same restaurant where Jones was eating dinner. When Carrey went over to say hello, he was met with a death stare. Jones stood up, trembling with what Carrey described as pure rage, hugged him and whispered the legendary words, "I hate you. I really don't like you." Carrey, totally shocked, asked what the problem was. Jones's reply was the ultimate artistic slap in the face. He looked at Carrey and said, "I cannot sanction your buffoonery. I cannot sanction your buffoonery." It's one of the most perfect insults in Hollywood history. It wasn't just, "I don't like you." It was a complete rejection of Jim Carrey as an artist. It was Jones, the serious thespian, passing a final, damning judgment on the very style that had made Carrey a global superstar. It was personal, it was condescending, and it was brutal. The feud between them remains the gold standard for on-set conflicts because it was a clash of philosophies, of generations, and of two completely different ideas of what a star should be. So there you have it, the 6 most infamous feuds of Tommy Lee Jones's career. From the quiet intimidation of Josh Brolin to the legendary takedown of Jim Carrey, a clear pattern shows up. Tommy Lee Jones is a man of uncompromising standards. An artist so devoted to his own serious craft that he has little patience for anyone who doesn't share it. His incredible talent is undeniable, but as these stories show, the same intensity that makes him so magnetic on screen can make him an absolute nightmare off screen. But what do you think? Whose side are you on? Is Tommy Lee Jones a dedicated professional just protecting his work? Or is he a bully who uses his status to intimidate his coworkers? Drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this peek behind the camera, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss another story from the wild world of Hollywood. Thanks for watching.